Hello there, this is John Burroughs, and I am going to proceed on my third podcast here. I'm just a rookie at this, but it seems fun to do. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to tell you a story. Actually, I'm going to tell you two stories. It's the same story told in two different versions. At the end of the story, I'm going to ask you two questions, and I'd like you to answer those questions, if you could, as honestly as possible. So, and these stories are short, so I don't want to think I'm going to be taking up your whole evening here. But the reason why I'm doing two versions is to kind of, it's kind of like a study to prove a point, maybe. Okay, here's the story. I woke up this morning. I felt shitty as hell. I was pissed off, and I had to go run a bunch of crappy errands. So the start of the day was ridiculous. And the errands I had to run are the type I really don't like, or let me put it this way, I had to go to certain places that really bother me. So I get the hell out of bed. I'm tired as hell. Once again, feel like crap. And I think about it and I say to myself, well, this shit has to be done. So let's get started. So make the story a little bit shorter. I get in the shower reluctantly. I shave and I go out. The first place I have to stop is where I get my dog groomed. And behind the counter, where you drop the dog off, is this snippet of a little punk who doesn't like the job he's working at. And he doesn't give you any service, and you don't even know if he's the one that's going to be cutting your dog's hair or shampooing or whatever. But he's a complete ass. Anyway, still had to get the errand done, so I dropped my dog off, and it takes about 2 or 3 hours, and I left. Second errand, I had to go over and pick up some prescriptions. And I'm an old fart. And I get into the store, and I'm standing in line with a bunch of old relics that are older than me. And really, I mean, it's so frickin' weird because I'm looking at people bent over on canes, phony smiles, all that bullshit, and they're in their golden years. So, anyway, I stood in line. Of course, it took forever because, first of all, the older people have problems hearing. They don't understand all the new medical plans, and it took forever. So, I got out of there. Now I'm even more pissed off, and I gotta go back and pick up my dog. And the way they work it at this particular place is you go in to where your dog was groomed, they print you out a bill, and then you take it out to the counter. This is a real great process. And you take it out to the counter, and you pay for it there, and then you go back in and get your dog. Well, I go to this place quite often, and there's this lady who thinks her shit don't stink, and she's selling everyone at the counter that comes up to have a blessed day. I mean, how the hell do you have a blessed day? Do I gotta go find a priest to bless the day for me? What do I gotta do? So anyway, it's one of those things that literally it's just not realistic. So I got through with that, and you can hear me stuttering because it wasn't the day for it. Maybe on a different day I could have been a little bit more tolerable. So I go out the door, next thing I got to do is I got to go put gas in the car. So there's this one gas station we typically use, and I go down there, and I think they got, I don't know, three two-sided pumps, so a total of 12 pumps, and 2 are working. And what type of idiot, and this happens all the time, so I'm trying to figure out what type of jerk doesn't spend the money and fix this permanently. Anyway, filled up my gas, was starting to feel a little bit better, was all I had left to do was, pick up, have the dog in the back, and gone through this raging hell, and I figure all I have left to do is go home. Well, I only live about 2 miles away, and of course, the first thing that happens is I'm pulling out of the driveway of the center where I was, and one of these little old ladies that look like troglodytes, you can't see their head over the seat, I mean, almost hits me, completely cuts me off. Now, I'm an pretty old guy, not nearly as old as they are, so I don't have much room to talk. My driving skills are the craps too. But anyway, when I got home, I felt even worse. I mean, it was just like another day in a life that's getting shorter that could have been better. Maybe my attitude, I don't know. But when you start a day out like that, when you got to go through all that ridiculous stuff, it just makes the day crappy. So I plopped myself down on the couch, looked up into the heavens, and said, God, why do you make days like this? I can't believe sometimes that you're an all-loving God. That ends the first version of the story. Here's the second version. I woke up this morning feeling a little bit under the weather and quite perturbed that I had to run out and do a number of errands that I'm not especially fond of. They're errands that need to be done, but unfortunately, it's not something I like to do. So I lay in bed for a little while, and then I finally said to myself, okay, old boy, chin up. You got to go out there and you got to get the errands done and get everything taken care of. So the first thing I had to do was go get my dog groomed. And we get them groomed at usually the same place. And I brought my dog in, and there was this person there, the service person who takes your dog in for grooming, and he was an angry young man, and his service was deplorable, and I really didn't like being there. So anyway, I dropped the dog off and left him to go do the other errands. Next thing I had to do was go pick up some prescriptions. And when I walked in the door, I saw a bunch of senior citizens like myself waiting in a long line, and unfortunately long line for elderly people like myself, and these people were even more elderly. And I felt deeply sorry because, they don't understand all the new health plans. There's always a bunch of explaining that has to go on, but unfortunately it's not their fault. It's just you're getting old. So I went ahead and got my prescription, and then the next thing I had to do was go out and fill up my car. And we usually go to this service station quite often. And it's got about, I don't know, 12 total pumps, of the different grades of gasoline. And it seems like almost every time we drive in there, unfortunately, there are only two pumps working. So there's lines at the pumps, and it becomes a very frustrating situation for all the people trying to get things done. And I went ahead and I got the gas, and I felt sorry for the poor unfortunate workers there that had to handle all the complaints. Then I had to obviously go back and pick up my dog, and I went back to pick up my dog. Now, the process at this particular institution is you go in to where you drop the dog off. They print you out a receipt, and then you take that, print you out a bill, excuse me, and then you take that bill to the paying aisle, like a checkout aisle, and you pay the bill there. But there was a lady there that's been there forever, and to every single customer in line, after the transaction is done, she tells them to have a blessed day. My problem with it is I think it's a very nice sentiment, but there's two problems I have with it. One, she says it with no emotion at all. I don't feel it's sincere. And two, it's just, what does a person have to do to have a blessed day? I mean, something that's blessed has to be blessed by somebody. So yes, are you supposed to go out and find a deity or a priest or a minister or whatever to bless your day? Anyway, I'm probably being a little judgmental here, but that's how I felt. And I went and I got my dog, and we started to head home. And as I headed home and I was pulling out of the driveway, we live in an area where there's a lot of senior citizens, and one of those little old ladies, poor unfortunate little old ladies that don't have anyone to help them out, she cuts me off, almost hits the car, and you can't even see her head over the back of the seat, and it was just in addition to an already unpleasant day that I seem to be having more of as I grow older. But anyway, I only live a few miles from the center where I was, and I drove up, and I got home, and I plopped myself down on the couch, and I sat there in deep thought, and then I kind of looked around and wondered, truly, is this what evolution causes? Okay, that's the end of the second story. Now, what I want to do is ask you a couple questions, and respond to them if you choose to. Be honest in your response, please. The idea when someone is telling you a story about a bad day that they've had, I think they want you to feel the way they felt, okay? And I'm not a bad person. I'm just trying to make a point here. I don't always act like that. In fact, those days are long gone, but I'm just trying to make a point. They're trying to illustrate a point, and they want you to feel and understand what they went through. So, my first question would be is, which story is more, and this isn't about how you feel in terms of what they went through, but it's more of a different type of question. Which story was more politically correct, the first or second one? That's question number one. Question number two is, which story painted the better picture for you, made you feel the person's pain, the person's agony, the person's frustration, all the things that they went through in that short period of time. Which one made you feel those emotions the most? And then lastly, there's no right or wrong answers here. I'm not saying whether I agree with political correctness or disagree with political correctness. But there are no right or wrong answers here. And don't worry, at the end of it, when this is all over, you'll all get a trophy, so everybody wins. Okay, and I wanted to make one more point that I forgot to make in the second story. In the first story, you told me, I told you I plopped myself down on the couch, and I said, "Oh God, why do you make days like this?" In the second story, what I forgot to add to the end is um, uh, I wanted to add, I plopped myself down on the couch and thought, man, is this what evolution is all about? This is John Burroughs signing off. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Thanks very much.